Hello everyone, I'm back with another Reddit Addicts episode. If you find my videos entertaining, please kindly subscribe and like them. Thanks to everyone for your suggestions and kind notes. Now, let's get started with today's exciting stories.
Told my wife, I'm sorry, I'm not funding your affair. And all of a sudden I destroyed it. I broke up with my girlfriend this week. We met online when we were both in high school, her in the Midwest USA and myself on the East Coast. We've been friends since 2016, dating since June of 2020, and moved in together here on the East Coast in December of the same year. Not only was she my significant other, but I genuinely considered her my best friend and the person I was meant to be with forever. For the entirety of our relationship, we had no issues. I'd had toxic relationships in the past, but this one was such a breath of fresh air. We both had issues with ourselves, but were very open about communicating and helping each other work through personal stuff. It really was great while it lasted. But, around April of 2022, I noticed something change. We're both big gamers, and we both have separate friend groups that we play games with. I never had any problems with her having guy friends, as I had no reason not to trust her. But like I said, something changed in April. I noticed little things, like how she would make sure to mute her microphone if I came into her room. Or how she would go back to a game after talking to me, and instead of saying sorry, I was talking to my boyfriend, she would say something like I was grabbing a snack or I was using the bathroom, even though that isn't what happened. One particular night towards the end of May, we were in the kitchen together and I had hugged her and picked her up. She said she had to go back to her ranked game because she was between rounds. So, still holding her up, I had turned to carry her back to her chair. She physically restrained me from carrying her over there, whining and saying her webcam was on before starting to say something like I don't want to look weird or something like that, but trailed off. I shrugged it off and went back to my room, but realized later just how weird it was for her to say that and act like that. A couple weeks later, I went to use the bathroom and her phone just so happened to be on the sink, screen on, texts open to a name I didn't recognize, we'll call him Brian. I locked the door, sat down, and took a better look at the text history. There was plenty of nasty talk in there, talking about wanting to fuck, having him come on her face, all sorts of sexual fantasies, as he seemed to not live anywhere nearby. What's even worse for me is that they communicated as if they were a couple, with her calling him baby and lover boy and all kinds of other pet names. I knew I had to immediately talk to her about this, so I did. I sat her down and asked if she'd been talking to someone else, which she immediately declined. I then told her that she left her phone in the bathroom, and I saw all of her texts with Brian. She broke down right then and there, admitted and apologized heavily, saying she'll stop talking to him. Claiming that she loves me, not him, that their relationship means nothing. I basically said that I needed a little break to think stuff over, but we ultimately ended up staying together. She talked about starting therapy to talk to someone about her issues, and based off of where our conversation ended that day, I felt she was genuinely sorry and would work to fix this for us. That was where I fucked up the first time. Fast forward to a month later. I had woken up extra early for work, and noticed again that her phone was on next to her as she slept. I took it and saw that she had some strangely love-white texts with her female friend, who we will call Lisa. Not inherently weird as I hear her talk about Lisa a lot. But it wasn't Lisa. I had made a mental note of Brian's phone number when I saw the texts the previous month, and Lisa's number matched up exactly. My girlfriend had changed Brian's contact name to someone she knew I wouldn't question that she was texting. And lo and behold, the two of them were still talking as if they were in a serious relationship. Miss you, babe, I love you, good night. I can't wait for you to meet my family. She even mentioned not being able to FaceTime because her roommates are home and they will be able to hear me. Just the two of us lived together in the apartment. So she's lying to this guy too. He has no idea she's in a relationship. I waited until we were both home from work that day to bring it up. I didn't explicitly say that I saw her texts, but it was heavily implied. I asked her if she was still talking to Brian, and she said yes. She said it's been hard finding the time to tell him, and she said she would do it right away. I told her that as long as she held herself accountable, i.e. tell Brian the truth, talk to her family about what's been going on, and actually look to start therapy, then this is something that can maybe be worked through. That, of course, was my second major mistake. Immediately after this conversation, she went out to sit in her car to talk to Brian about how she's in a relationship and can't be talking to him anymore. She then called her sister, spoke to her about the situation, and then called both her mom and dad to attempt to fill them in as well. Though, neither parent picked up. She said she would try again the next day, but never ended up calling either of them about it to my knowledge. At the time, I thought that since she'd allegedly cut off Brian and spoken to her sister, she's at least making an effort. I tried to put the situation behind us and focus on the future, as our apartment lease was due to end within a few weeks and we had to figure out what our next plan of action was as far as our living situation. Here's where I made my biggest mistake. My parents, knowing that we were in a rough place financially, offered us to come stay with them for a few months so we can save some money. We took them up on the offer and moved in at the very beginning of September. Since our last conversation and into September, our relationship seemed to be doing really well again. She seemed to be more honest with me than ever, inviting me to come say hi to her friends on Discord while she was in a call and things like that. But of course, in the back of my mind I had that feeling of distrust planted that wouldn't go away. She also repeatedly talked about starting therapy, but never actually did. One night in the middle of September, her and I were home alone at the time and she told me she had to call her mom, which was weird to me as they don't talk very often. She went out to her car to talk to her, and was out there for over 2 hours. When she came back in, she had clearly been crying. I asked what they were talking about, and she responded not much really and was clearly struggling to come up with something on the spot. Since I wasn't sure if she was just emotional because of something serious she didn't want to immediately talk about with me, I let her go upstairs without pressing. And since it was late, she went to sleep shortly after. The next day, we were home alone again, so I took the opportunity to talk to her. I asked her flat out if it was really her mom that she was talking to last night. She said that it was, and even showed me the call on her call history. I noticed that there was no signs of Elisa or Brian, or anything really on her call list, besides mom a bunch of times. Again, I knew she didn't talk to her that much, so it was weird to me that her name was in the call history so much. At this point though, I'd been so paranoid about every little thing that I brushed it off as just that, me being paranoid. I didn't press about it. Well, I should have. The final part of this story just recently happened. She was at work, and I was playing with one of my cats. I wanted to try one of those interactive apps that cats play with on the iPad. It's got fish or mice or whatever on it for them to swat at, not super important. Point is, I knew she had an iPad I could use. I don't regularly use iPads, and I noticed once I got hers that it had iMessage on it. The same iMessage that is linked to her phone. I opened it and saw texts from Mom that were actually just Brian's phone number, again. The texts were honestly very sad to read. Turns out that she never actually told him the truth. From what I understood, she just broke up with him. Said she wasn't in a good place to be dating right now. This poor guy was clearly heartbroken, totally confused as to why he was cut off so abruptly. I can't help but to feel bad for him, as he's got no idea that she's been in a long-term relationship this whole time. She has still been talking to him daily, clearly trying to keep him around as a friend while telling me she cut him off. And if that wasn't bad enough, there was another new person. I'll call him Kevin, who was a member of her friend group that I was already aware of. I'm 99% sure that this guy knew about me dating her as well, but I can't be sure of anything anymore with her. Anyways, the texts were disgusting. Full-on sexting, talking about how he is her type, he's the one for her, even saying she's recently bought lingerie and is planning on showing him pictures of her wearing it as soon as it arrives. This particularly sent me over the edge, as she's never bought anything like that for us before, despite me suggesting it and offering to buy some. But she's willing to do it for this new guy. Unfucking believable. When she got home, I confronted her. Immediately told her this wasn't working out. I was very cold about it, not wanting to get angry since my parents were home sleeping. I didn't even tell her what I saw, just that I wanted to break up and she needs to move out as soon as possible. She was in tears, seemingly very upset about this, but I was bone dry. She had sucked out all passion and any care I had left for this relationship. So now here I am. This only happened a couple days ago. She lives in my house, 1,000 miles away from her hometown, unable to immediately move out because of not having enough money for another cross-country move. In addition to this, my family thinks she's great, and although I have told them we broke up, they don't know the whole story. If they did, it would make for an extremely awkward and uncomfortable living situation until she moves. To me, it makes more sense to just have her move as soon as possible, and fill them in after she's gone. Her current planet to be out before December. And all of this could have been avoided if I wasn't a fucking idiot by believing that she could change. To the people in a similar situation, don't do what I did. Your partner cheated once and they will cheat again. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not this week, month, year, whatever. They will cheat again. And to everyone else, thank you for reading. Again, this is mainly a vent for me, but please, if you have any input or suggestions, anything at all, let me know. Having more people to talk to right now would be great, especially people with similar experiences.
We hope you enjoyed this story. Thanks for watching and hope to see you in the next video. And before you go, please be sure to subscribe for more.